Consumption drives economic growth, but meeting our consumption trends requires the resources of 2.3 planets. So what do we do when we only have one planet? Investing in the circular economy may be part of the answer. And this is a conversation well worth your time, right now on UBS Trending. Hi everyone, and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm Amantia Muhedini, filling in for Anthony. Joining me today, we have portfolio managers Caroline Brown and Bennett Cohen from Closed Loop Partners. And we're here today to discuss our CIO sustainable investing theme on the circular economy. So let's get right into it. As we think about the circular economy, we think really of an economic model where we're using fewer virgin resources and we're extending product life through resale or reuse. What's your view over at Closed Loop Partners on the circular economy and what's driving it?
Yeah, as you know, Closed Loop Partners is a private equity firm focused on the circular economy. And what we see is a dramatic shift in the business environment right now from the linear economy to the circular economy. But what does that really mean?
Right. What does it mean?
Well, Madonna had it right. We live in a material world. All the products and services that we consume on a day-to-day basis are based on materials. It could be the metal that our transportation system is made of, the wood that our house is made of, or the agricultural products that we consume as clothes or food.
That's right. I mean, all of these materials, even the glass that this table is made of, or maybe it's actually hard plastic, actually. So yeah, materials pulled from the ground. Yes.
Exactly. And historically, our approach to these materials has been what we call take, make, waste, the linear system, where we take these materials from the earth, we make them into products, and we throw them in the trash. And the market is starting to wake up and realize that there's a better way of doing business, which is keeping those materials in the economy, providing value, rather than ending up in the trash.
That's right. So what does it look like in practice? I'm thinking, and as I'm hearing you speak, Bennett, I'm thinking of a good friend of mine who for years has been buying high-end clothing, luxury items from secondhand markets, and then recently she starts also reselling them back. So she makes a little money. I think the platforms that she's using are also making money, and it's interesting here because it's the same materials as you're saying, but there's additional economic value that is extracted every time there's a new transaction, which is fascinating as we're thinking about this economic model that you're describing here as well. What are some other examples of this?
The beauty of the circular economy is that it's a process. It's a business model of the future. And what that means is that it touches every sector and it really interacts with our day-to-day life. So clothing is a fantastic example. If you think about the clothes that we wear, the food that we eat, the plastics that we interact with every day, all can benefit from a circular economic model. So resale, your friend is a fantastic example. And that's an area that has seen extraordinary growth and will continue to. And some of the interesting technologies that drive the ability for companies to take part in resale are great examples of the types of businesses that we support in the circular economy. Another great example in apparel, let's all look at the recycling sector.
That's right.
That's right. I mean, everybody opens their closet. I think it's universal that we all have too many clothes. And we have become a culture that disposes of these clothes. 85% of the product we wear ends up in landfill. So what that means is that pretty much anything you've owned in your life is probably still in landfill today, since it can take upwards of 1,000 years to biodegrade. So not only are we looking at solutions that address how products are made and the types of materials used, but also technologies that can actually recycle these complex blends at the end of life and keep them out of landfill.
And that's interesting technologies that you're saying, because I think someone who just hears this term may say, well, where's the investment opportunity here? Like all you're saying is things have been created and then we'll resell them, and then at some point, you know, their useful end of life actually comes. Where's the investment for us from an investment perspective? What we're seeing is, as to your point on technologies, there's kind of evolution in technologies that need to still develop or scale to enable this, as well as we're also seeing a lot of interesting M&A activity in public markets, for example, that is being pushed by regulation. So I'm curious, Caroline or Bennett, really, what are some more examples as you're thinking of technology or maybe the supply chain angle on this?
I think, number one, your comment about regulatory environments is meaningful because we do see shifting regulatory environments that are putting additional pressure on companies today. Also, we live in a culture of transparency, and the blockchain and IoT technologies that consumers have access to today can enable transparency. They can see how a product is made and what the raw materials are. So all of these are driving a shift in consumer sentiment. Some other great examples, let's think about food. Okay, so we all know there's an extraordinary amount of food waste. In America, I believe it's upwards of 40% of the food that we consume actually ends up in a waste stream. We are looking at technologies, and we are invested in some today, that actually take advantage of that waste as a resource and turn it into a valuable, usable fuel that can drive cooking in your home, that can drive heating your water. So taking waste and not looking at it as waste, but really extracting the value as the very valuable resource that it is.
And consumers are starting to come behind this. I mean, we're seeing data from across the world, in particular European consumers, but in the US as well, where they really care across all of these sectors. The question is, though, as we're thinking about this from this investment perspective, as also as we're thinking about it from sustainability or impact, which for some matters, how do you know that it's actually working? Like, what are some of the indicators that tell us that there is a market, that these investments have runway looking forward?
Yeah. Well, as you know, we're growth investors, and so we look at a lot of traditional metrics like year-over-year revenue growth, and we're looking to see margins expanding as the companies that we're working with are moving from, initial traction to profitability and free cash flow. But from a circular economy perspective, one of the most important indicators that we track is materials kept in circulation. And usually we're looking for things in the hundreds, thousands, millions of tons over the life of a company. And those track with other indicators like carbon emissions avoided and fresh water consumption avoided, really important indicators for the economy over the next 10 years.
Right. That's right. I mean, all of these things come together, right? If we talked about plastics a little bit. Plastics are responsible for 6% of global oil demand. So you want to kind of track that kind of material, because if we have a need for energy, and we saw over the last year a lot of pressure on energy prices actually hitting individual consumers and households, you think, can we move some of that demand over to things that we cannot avoid and come up with new alternatives for something like plastics, just as one of these examples. So it's helpful to know also what you can track as we're integrating financial growth with the development of the circular economy. Very interesting conversation. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today, but this has been fascinating, and it's a topic that is always dear to my heart, but also a lot of interesting investment opportunities here. If you want to know more about the circular economy, please visit ubs.com/CIO to download our latest research on this longer-term investment theme. And also make sure to follow UBS on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and check out our past trending episodes on demand. And as always, if you have any questions about your portfolio, please speak with a financial advisor. Until next time, I'm Amantia Muhedini. Have a great rest of the day, and remember, keep your eyes on what's trending.